What's up, everybody? Mahan13 here. Hold on, let me just... There we go. Alright, what's up, everybody? Mahan13 here. Reason I haven't posted all that much in a little bit is because, well, I just had to get back into the swing of things of school and stuff. You know, just stuff like that. Along with going through a thing with somebody right now, so... I'm gonna have to solve that after this. Probably need to give him a call. Or I guess her. But alright, now it's enough of my rambling. Alright, so where we last left this video off was Izuku and Katsuki running around killing the ones around Hosu City. As again, well, most of them still had their head again, a lot of them still had their brain exposed. Hit it hard enough and they die. So yeah, along with the fact that they're a lot stronger than they were at the USJ. Since, you know, it's confirmed that Sonic constantly grows as time goes on. You would assume the same would be for Shadow. So yeah, they're way stronger than the USJ. After they're done killing all the Nomas, Izuku ends up running back to see Endeavor and Gran Torino around, but he explains as quick as he can that he needs Shoto to help put out the fires, with him grabbing Shoto and running off. A couple of minutes later, all of the fire around Hosu City has been snuffed out, along with them getting back. Now, yes, they then head to Hosu City Hospital, well, taking Mango there that helped him get patched up as well. While Frieda, he had like one, I guess, a big enough nick on himself to get it stitched up and, well, just wrapped up. But besides that, he's fine. The others went with him to, well, just wait for him to get out so that they can call him a dumbass again for doing something so stupid without even telling any of them. As they all, again, Izuku and Katsuki reiterate the fact that they would have helped if he had said something. Although, with this, Katsuki does end up using Chaos Control to teleport back to Best Genius Agency after making sure everything's good. And, well, I mean, he teleports back. There's about nothing I could say, really, to change that. So, yeah, afterwards, the police chief does come up and tell him that they can't take the credit for it. So, Endeavor's the one to take credit for it. But besides that, they didn't go on their way. When the the internships finally end, Izuku is seen walking out as Katsuki teleports there, telling him he just got done. He teleports with him and he teleports there himself along with Shoto being there. And Ida, as well. He made sure to grab his friends before bringing on the way. And with that, the four boys teleport back to where they all live around in Japan before heading off. Which, a day later, school starts, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, with that being said, things go about normally as canon. I mean, except for the fact that our main characters, usually, Izuku wins the little training race they had with little to no difficulty as well. I mean, again, he's faster than all of them by a mile. Well, 10,000 miles, but you get what I mean. So, yeah, things go on a bit more after that. I mean, nothing really changes all that much in the grand scheme for a little bit until we get to, well, the practical, I forgot what they called the exams. What was it? The practical exams? What did they call the exams again? I don't remember. Basically, you know, the exams to go to the training camp. Now then, things go mildly different for multiple characters here. Alright, let's first get to Mina. With her having her wings, she's able to fly her and Kaminari around since Rouge does actually have, like, some pretty good lifting strength. I mean, she's able to hold, Rouge in general. I mean, she's able to lift Shadow and Omega at the same time. So, yeah, that leads to them being able to dodge any of the, giant shit that Principal Nezu throws around. Along with the fact that, considering the fact that Rouge can kick hard enough to destroy Eggman robots, yeah, you can imagine what a couple of kicks do to that little. You imagine what a couple of kicks would do to that crane. So she's able to bring the crane down and get Principal Nezu to surrender, which means that her and Kaminari actually passed in this timeline. Mineta and Sero fell, like canon. Now then, Ochako and Oyama. Things go somewhat militarily the same. Although, they're not in... But thanks to her extra strength and hammer that can make things float, they're actually able to get away to where they're not in such a bad situation like they were in the original. With Ayama asking her if she's wondering what Izuku would do because she likes him. Now, Ochako actually doesn't freak out that much here, since, again, if you watch part 1, you would know that Ochako and Izuku know how they feel about each other. They just haven't had the courage to ask the other out. This leads to her forcing herself to get back into the game, which, after using her hammer to send some rubble in the air and shoot it at 13, along with using Ayama's laser as a distraction, she's able to get behind 13 and use gunhead martial arts to pin her to the ground. Well, I mean, she uses the severe strength she has to grab 13 by the wrist and quite physically slam her into the ground. Like, again, while Amy may be as strong as Knuckles, she's still, really strong. Strong. It's actually kind of scary. I'd probably say physically after hell, she's either the physically second strongest after Knuckles or fourth if you want to say that Sonic and Shadow are stronger than her physically. Which I don't really think so. Otherwise, Sonic wouldn't be that scared of her. Yeah, I'm gonna legit say it. Amy might just be the second strongest out of all of Sonic's fans. Physically, she might be the strongest. Just straight up physical feats. Might be the damn strongest. Who knows? But yeah, using her immense strength, Ochako picks 13 up and puts her into a crater in the ground, which knocks her out. Which Ochako does kind of feel bad for, as she wasn't going to knock her out, just pin her to the ground and put some handcuffs on her. She didn't mean to go that far. So yeah, after helping 13 up, her and Ayama pass. Now in Shoto and Momo. I don't think things will really go different here. I mean, yeah, sure, Shoto is way stronger thanks to him just naturally having chaos energy running through him while not having any other special powers. Oh, sorry. I was yelling a little bit before this, so throat's kind of gravelly, But yeah, I don't really think things would change all that much for Shoto and Momo. I mean, sure, Shoto's fire is way stronger because, again, while he didn't get any special powers or anything, he still has chaos energy running through his blood. But, thing is that Zawas can still shut his quirk off, so... Yeah, I say Shoto's a bit more open, though, with Momo, so... Who knows, maybe that makes the plan go on a little bit faster, as he's able to reach her faster and make her come to her realization in that arc. So yeah, they still win. Hiroshima and Sero. Do I have to mention? Against Cementos. Hiroshima has knuckle strength. How you... I don't even know why I'm being the smartest about it. They win purely because of Kirishima alone. That's about it. That's with one punch, he was able to destroy all Cementos stuff before rushing and, putting him down and putting him into a wall. So, yeah, they win. 2 extra people that win in this timeline. Although, I'll get to it when I get to it. Now then, let's get to the main event. Izuku and Tatsuki versus dear old Toshinori. Now then, something about Toshi is different in this timeline, as he's only wearing one weight. Actually, you know what? Screw it. He's not wearing either weight. So, the boys are fighting a full power All Might in this timeline. Reason being is because they can take it. As well, with one punch, All Might decimates half of the city they're on. With him speeding up to them, with them barely being able to rush away from him. Now then, Katsuki is less hot-headed in this universe. For reasons, well, I went over in part 1. He's trying to be better because of Maria. It doesn't mean that he doesn't want to prove himself as the strongest. And, well, Izuku kind of wants to take a crack at his old man. Which, again, for context, Inko and Toshi got married in this timeline. But, yeah. So, with this, they both rush back a bit before rushing at All Might. Both taking turns to basically homing attack and spin dash at him. Katsuki throws some Chaos Spears only for one of them to get grabbed as he rushes to him, punching him through a couple of buildings. Now then, Izuku and Katsuki eventually get by each other, realizing that they should better just run. So with that, even though Katsuki really doesn't want to, he uses Chaos Control to teleport him and Izuku to the finish line. Although Izuku could tell that he had somewhat of an angry look on his face. Now then, after that, a day later, it tells everyone who passed. Now then, there are some people that didn't pass in this universe. Well, obviously, Sero still fails, but Kaminari and Sugar Rush also fell in this timeline. Reason being is because, quite literally, Mina and Kirishima did all the work. If they weren't there and weren't that strong as they were, they would have failed. And so, with that, yeah. Now then, we get to the mall. Things go down somewhat similar here. Izuku's smart enough not to try Shigaraki, since, sure, he could blast him away, but what's stopping him from killing a couple of people before he does? So Izuku pulls the safest option and just keeps his mouth shut. Now then, we skip a day later. Izuku was basically walking around again, while, unbeknownst to him, something is flying at him. He senses something coming at him and jumps out the way just in time to see something crash into a building, destroying the surrounding area. And what he sees coming out the building, and what he looks at it's a robotic him. The robot starts walking towards him with pure red eyes. Silitalic foam with most of the armor on it being blue. Look, man, I don't know how you want me to explain Metal Sonic. Just look him up. I can't be bothered, I'm not gonna lie. Well, I guess a Metal Deku here, but I mean, still technically Metal Sonic. As a voice recording starts playing, basically it says, "Greetings, Izuku. It is I, Dr. Eggman. Dr. Ivo Robotnik, have fun with meth." Basically explaining what metal is before the transmission cuts off completely, as Metal's red, cold, lifeless eyes stare at Izuku before rushing him. Probably should have drunk some more water before this. Before rushing him and grabbing him by the throat and dragging him through a building, face first. Chucking Izuku on top of another building, cracking the top of it, with him barely being able to get his bearings as Metal comes at him again. Him barely dodging before activating One for All, punching the robotic copy away before using Black Whip to slam him into the ground. Metal gets up as well. Izuku basically bursts off using his boost to go off to basically lead Metal away. And Metal falls behind him. with Izuku seeking that Metal is as fast as him. This leads to the two crashing into a blur across Japan. Basically, for most people can see, two blue blur, a blue blur and a blue and green like blur are basically clashing at random points at Japan, going over, bouncing from each other until they get to one street, running at each other. Izuku brings back a fist, yelling a Detroit Smash, with Metal clashing him, basically shattering the surrounding ground and basically breaking into nothing. Izuku looks at Metal, somewhat shocked that he can never have the strength of One for All, before Metal grabs Izuku by the face, ramming one of his fists and basically using his super speed and strength to ram one of his fists in Izuku's gut. Mainly so his ribs, which leads him spitting out a little bit of blood before grabbing him by the head, flying over to a building and dragging him face first atop it, before flying up, looking down, and chucking Izuku back down the building, straight through it, all the way to the ground. Now, yes, the people in the building are freaking out, and some are even jumping out the window to get away, as Metal in the air spin dashes, falling down before unspinning to slam both of his feet onto Izuku's chest, which caused him to spit out even more amount of blood. Him screaming in pain as Metal grabs him by the face and punches him half, and basically hits him with a right that sends him out the building. We sees him skidding on the ground, with Metal walking out, his eyes still cold and lifeless, staring at Izuku, walking to him and kicking him, sending him into a car that proceeds to explode from the impact, sending Izuku flying in the air before landing down on the ground, bloody, battered, and bruised. Metal then grabs Izuku by the face before flying up, knowing where to go. Flying away. Now then, back at UA, Aizawa has a class started, which Aizawa was kind of weirded out that Izuku was late. Although, barely a minute later, Aizawa is notified by Nezu that Izuku was fighting someone, and before he can get out the door, something comes crashing through one of the windows, flying and hitting a couple of desks, along dragging a slight trail of blood across before hitting the wall. Everyone notices Izuku battered, bloody, and bruised, wondering how, before they look to see the Metal doppelganger landing in the classroom. Now then, Ochako was the first one to run over to Izuku's nearly unconscious form, wondering just what is this thing and how did it beat him this bad. With Izuku somewhat being able to force himself up, telling him what he heard, that that Eggman guy was able to make a robotic version of him. Now then, as Metal starts walking, some of the students try, along with Aizawa, trying to stop him, but he bats them away without a single hint, along with grabbing Aizawa and chucking him out the class door, sending him flying into the hallway. Now then, after this, Metal quickly dodges as a Chaos Spirit comes nearly stabbing at him, before getting kicked inside the head, sending him into a wall. As Katsuki is standing there, his electricity flashing. Now then, after this is when Kirishima and Shoto both get by. Well, Shoto and Tenya all get by Katsuki, looking at the robotic doppelganger. As the next thing anyone knows is Kirishima rushes forward, slamming his fist multiple times into Metal's frame, and denting him in the wall even more and more. Right when he pulls his fist back to deliver another punch, Metal grabs it before judo flipping him overhead and throwing him on top of the ceiling. Next is Tenya, who tries, using his tails to give him a boost of speed for a reciprocal kick, kicking Metal, but ultimately the robot just blocks with one arm, grabbing Tenya by the face and slamming him in the ground. Although the next thing the robot knows, its side is slightly scraped by a chaos spear as its cold eyes dart over to, Katsuki. The next thing you notice, it's blasted by fire and ice, with another couple of blasts rushing at it. Although when it's done, Metal is seen there, mostly fine. As he looks up, grabs Katsuki and Shoto and drives them out the, hole in the window he made. Driving them out a little bit. With Izuku's finally gained enough consciousness to get up again. Shaking his head and seeing, Katsuki and Shoto getting dragged. More so gripped by the face and flown away. He walks over to Kira, picking him up, asking if he's alright enough to fight. With Kira grabbing his hand and the two rushing. More so Suzuku dragging him out the classroom, rushing behind him, with Tenya following their trail. Before Ochako can walk out there, run out there too, Aizawa ends up coming back in with some slight blood trickling down his head, telling her not to. She came in here to stop the other boys from leaving too quick, but now he needs to make sure all of his students, the ones in here, are safe. As multiple other pro heroes come down to see, Class 1A's dorm blown open, a hole in the window, and blood trickled around the floor. Now then, back to Meadow. Meadow is flying them around before planting him into a street, slamming them head first. Although next thing Metal knows that he's tackled by Kira, sending him flying into a wall. As Izuku and Tenya are shown standing there, having got there just about a minute after Metal. After helping them up, Izuku and Katsuki are the first. Katsuki's the first one to move, teleporting before kicking Metal away from Kira. The two standing there with Katsuki summoning a chaos spear. Although before Metal can even get up, he's frozen in a block of ice before it's blasted by fire, sending him back. Along with Izuku hoping that this works, as he basically uses his feet and his arms to throw out multiple X-like slashes that hit the robot, sending it flying back even more into a building. Although Metal comes out slightly more, at least a slight bit damaged, it's mostly fine. With Metal just standing there looking at him as, the engine on his back starts whirring as he rushes forward, sending Knuckles into a building. I guess Kirishima into a building, but, they're the same person. Sending Kira into a building, followed by him blocking a couple of hits from Katsuki, even shooting some of his explosions at him, sending him back a bit, but not doing much as... voice, Jesus. As, he hits him with a knee, which basically breaks a couple of his ribs, sending them back as Izuku and Tenya get there, along with Shoto. Meadow punching Tenya in the face, breaking his glasses, also sending him into a car. And Meadow does end up kicking Izuku away into another building, then deals with the other three, sending Katsuki into the same building that he sent Idoro in. Tenya and Shoto are both planted into the ground, basically, both being knocked unconscious from the metallic copy. Izuku comes back down, seeing his friends hurt. He sees Katsuki and Idoro nowhere to be found. Tenya and Shoto are on the ground. He drops to his knees a slight bit, with his dark green bluish mix of hair starting to flash up a bit before somewhat turning black, with the 6 Chaos Emeralds they do have. I guess 5 he has, since Katsuki has one. Popping up around him before turning black. Izuku's eyes turning completely white as he yells at the metal monstrosity that he's gonna rip it apart. As he ends up flying at metal, grabbing it, it's flying high up in the air, basically punching the robotic copy. Eventually, though, they get somewhere, mainly Mount Fuji. Well, not Mount Fuji, no. I'd say they get to, like, some at least random volcano in the area. It has to be one in Japan. Basically, as he drags the metal copy down, slamming it, while constantly punching it, even using one for all at 100%, breaking his arms, but at this point, he doesn't care. He wants revenge. Thinking that this thing killed his friends. Although, metal sees an opening and proceeds to stab Izuku in the stomach, using his sharp hand-like claws, which causes Izuku to split up some blood as metal ends up grabbing him by his spiked-up hair, slumming him, and bringing him closer down to the lava. Now, this quick stab makes Izuku regain his senses somewhat, enough to where he brushes at metal, and basically starting to exchange weight in the air before eventually kicking the robotic copy down. And Izuku sees it starting to burn in metal, and while yes, he can barely move right now, his arms and legs are broken, he at least still tries. As he reaches down to try and save Metal, telling Metal to grab on his hand, that maybe this doesn't have to be this way. Although with Metal seeing the fact that half of his body isn't coated in lava, that's not how this is about to work. As he slaps his hand down and Izuku hears for one moment, there can only be one Sonic. As Metal's engulfed in the lava, Izuku screams a bit, some coming to his injuries and passing out as the lava starts getting closer. Luckily, though, a green flash is seen as Katsuki and Shoto are there, as Shoto starts cooling the ice. Cooling the lava with his ice as Katsuki grabs Izuku. Katsuki having woken Shoto up after waking up himself, basically being able to freeze, the lava, getting it to stop. With this, Katsuki teleports back to where the police apprehend them. Basically, they're getting asked questions on why would they help, them explaining exactly why. Although some people from UA are... This also leads to some questions of the press. If UA couldn't even protect one of their students, what about their student, their child? So this also leads to some negative press on UA in this timeline, coming a bit sooner. Now, and as for Izuku, he's brushed off to a hospital. As well, a multitude of his ribs were broken. As well, when he gets to the hospital, Recovery Girl is obviously called in, along with All Might, Inko, Mitsuki and Marsu. I don't know Katsuki's dad's name. Her husband, along with the Ochakos, as well. No, probably just the Otakos. I say that the Ashidos and Kirishimas couldn't make it. Along with the fact that a lot of Class 1A are huddled outside. Although when they get in there, Recovery Girl says that she's doing the best she can right now. As basically she starts explaining Izuku's injuries. Well, besides his arms and legs being shattered, the bones in them being broken, nearly all of Izuku's ribs were basically caved in and broke by that metal monstrosity, basically playing jump rope with his chest. Along with the fact that one of his broken ribs punctured a lung. And if it wasn't for whatever he did with those Chaos Emeralds, he probably wouldn't be breathing right now. In fact, he's barely breathing he's hooked up on life support right now. She then moves up a bit, showing his skull and the fact that it had a crack in it. basically saying, well, having his face constantly dragged through cement by a, again, basically devil-like robot really messed him up. And, well, and that he's basically in a coma right now. Well, she delivers the hardest news now that Izuku is basically in a coma right now. And that she doesn't know when he'll wake up. Now, Inko is heartbroken by this act. She basically just hides herself in her husband's chest. With Toshi himself thinking that if only he didn't use his 3 hours up already, if only he didn't use his 3 hours up already, he could have helped. And now his son is, well, in a coma. Multiple of his bones, nearly all of them broken, and basically fighting for his life tonight, right now on life support. But right now, he can't think about that right now as he just hugs his wife. Although eventually, the rest of Class 1A is told about this. Well, I mean, mainly, well, our main Chaos crew, that being, well, obviously our main crew, who relayed the info to Class 1A. Now then, that being said, we end this part off, basically in the days pass, and people come to visit, mainly Inko, Toshi, and Ochako. As Ochako makes sure to constantly sit by Izuku's bedside and tell him what's going on today, with her wishing he would wake up, as well as she looks at the little flower pot he has, placing some flowers she brought herself, only going back to just sit by him and hold one of his hands. Well, she can't really hold one of his hands, they're in cast right now, but she tries to hold one of his hands until realizes in a cast. So instead, she puts her hands on her lap and just puts her head on his bedside. And with that, we'll be ending this part off. So yeah,